What's up, everybody? Jordan Stewart here from Vover. Thanks so much for tapping into the Vover original show. Just a reminder that if you want to drop your opinions about the episode or respond to the host and guests with your voice, go and download the Vover app wherever you get your apps. Vover, voice over everything. Enjoyed the show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Grind with your hosts, Slimzilla and Yeti.
Vover. What's happening, world? Hey, the Yeti. Looks like you're on the move, son. Where are you?
Always on the move, Jordan. I'm in northern Michigan, man. If I could get some service, I would show you. It's beautiful up here, but unfortunately, service in northern Michigan, they don't really go together.
I'm always happy to have you on the show, man. That's the main thing to get you on. So, in the news yesterday, I seen that there was a quarterback that was caught up in a fight at the Giants, Daniel Jones. I wanted to get first your opinion on obviously the quarterback situation, because I know a lot of the times you told me that the quarterback needs protecting. And then also, is there many fights in the NFL world? And then obviously I'll go on to the soccer world.
I kind of went through the NFL changed so much while I was playing in that 9-year, that 9-year time where it was the first couple of years, it was all a bunch of big, tough guys. You never hit the quarterback from day one. That's always been they've always been taken care of. But there used to be a lot more fights. My first year there, it was old school NFL where there's probably 4 or 5 fights a day with the Bengals. I mean, we were getting after each other, man. It was full go, had to practice twice a day. The whole, everything old school NFL. People are worn out, tired. You're taking. There was a lot more older guys on the teams back then because of the way that the CBA has changed and the way contracts have changed.
Yeah.
So it was a lot more of these old guys that say me coming in as a rookie, I'm taking a grown man with kids and a wife and a house and all that. I'm taking his job essentially. So there was a bigger scrap over jobs and over every little miniature thing that went on during practice. So people were a lot more heated back then, and you could really, I don't know if it's true everywhere, but it's almost like now it's a lot of young guys fighting for jobs more than the older guys. The older guys, you're either going to be retired or you're going to be there. There's not a whole lot of fringe older guys. And I think that's changed it where the young guys don't really fight as much because it doesn't mean as much to them. They don't have as many, they're not so established in life where they have more kids or whatever that really means hey, this is make or break it for me right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Was there more fights on the field, or was it mostly in the locker room?
Hardly any in the locker room. I don't think, there was guys that didn't love each other, and, out of 100 guys, you're always going to have a few that you don't really get along with, but hardly any ever in the locker room. Most of just about everything I've been a part of has been either in a game against another team, which could get a little bad. And then during those first couple days of padded practice, when people are really trying to show their stuff off the bat and a guy might hit you extra hard or whatever happens, I think that's really when testosterone's flowing. People are trying to establish themselves on the team. Early camp is really the time when I think it's the worst.
and when everyone's getting punched up, what I don't understand about even NFL or hockey says, you guys are hitting each other and you got helmets on still. What damage are you looking to do?
Punching each other in a helmet? I know, it's the dumbest thing ever. It's awful, but I at least try to go for an open hand swat more than a punch because I ain't breaking my hand.
You're trying to ring the bell.
Yeah, I'm just gonna wake somebody up. What are you doing, man? Either you got to go for the uppercut where you get him in the jaw and there's nothing down there. There's strategic ways.
you got to give him that kidney blow, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there you go. But most of it was very little fights were straight up two guys, duking it out with full on punches. Most of the time it's a bit of a wrestling thing. Usually guys jump in right away, which sounds like probably what happened up in with the Giants. I think most likely two guys were kind of locked. Usually you're locked up. One guy's got a hold of the other guy's helmets, kind of twisting them. The other guy sort of throwing some random punch from the side, and then everybody else jumps in to try to split them up, but ends up making a bigger problem. And I bet the quarterback was one of those guys, and then his little ass got trampled. And if I'm the coach of that team, which it sounds like he did go nuts, I am going nuts for my quarterback getting hit. And then I'm going to pull that quarterback aside later in the day and say, don't you ever jump into that again. I don't know if that's what happened or not. I don't know how he ended up in the middle of it and got, trampled or whatever, but I would be telling him, dude, you are not the guy to do that. Like, you might be trying to be the head of the team and you want to establish yourself and break up fights. That's fine. That sounds good on paper, but really you're going in between 200-300-pound dudes and you're going to get trampled,
It's weird because in soccer, like most of the time, the main guy is the striker because he scores the goals.
Right.
They don't get really protected like how the quarterback does in the NFL, especially when it comes to like fights or things like that. Because most of the time, the stronger or the most reckless guys are defenders, right? So when they're going at the strikers, if training starts to get chippy or I don't know the strikers talking mad smack or something like that, then the defender will lift you up in training, and it's not like the coach will be saying to the defender, leave him alone, because at the end of the day, I feel, and I don't know if it's because we all train together all of the time, it's just that consistency of having that high level, whereas maybe in the NFL, you're kind of separate, so then when you do get together, you almost feel like enemies, if that makes sense. Where like it's like,
yeah.
Does that make sense, or like is it not really happening?
No, for sure. No, and you're right, man. Like I hardly see the offense. We hardly do anything together. You get towards the season and you're barely seeing these guys. I mean, you see them in meetings in the morning, but then you go your separate ways and they're your competitor. And football is just so hard in general. Like it's a lot like hockey, I would say, where you're in a room with a position coach, right? And this position coach is saying, your butt is on the line today. If you don't perform today, you're fired, right? Well, how the heck are you going to act on the field that day? How are you going to act on the field that day? You're going to act crazy. You're going to be running around hitting everybody. Well, then you end up, hitting some older guy that's ticked off. He gets mad at you for going so hard or whatever. Then he's mad at you. Then other guys are already irritable towards each other because they got to see each other every day. You get tired of hitting the same guy every day, And it's boring. Like you want to get to, that's why the first games are so fun. Cause it's like, oh, finally, I don't got to see this dude again. Like you get tired of it.
I can hit somebody else.
And they get mad at us too, because, football, unlike soccer, there's a plays, right? So, basically by the end of the camp, if you're not a dummy, I know every single play they're going to run before they run it. So I could cheat and pretty much stop every play they're going to run. So of course they get mad at you about that. But if during the games, they love it because I'm hitting the other teams like that and doing good things against them, but they hate when I know their plays, so
yeah, I've never
there's a lot of like that. Yeah. I mean, I could call out most of the plays the other team was going to run, let alone the team I'm on. So they start saying Daytona, bam, in their cadence or something. They'll say hut, 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 Daytona, hut. Yeah. Well, Daytona in a lot of places is what? Fast car, right? It's a NASCAR thing. It's going fast. Well, 9 out of 10 times, I would say almost 100% of the times probably, if you hear Daytona, it's coming on the next snap. So stuff like that, like I'll cheat the snap because that's what they do for their quick count. What do you want me to do? Ignore it, So there's a lot of stuff like that where the defensive guys will know the offensive plays. The offensive guys will know the defensive blitz packages, so they'll be cheating on that. It's an irritable sport, man. We're already hitting each other. Then you got to get annoyed. You're around each other all the time. You got all these attitudes on offense that are like, they're usually the cockier guys and all that. So there's a lot of different things and reasons why it ends up turning into a fight. And, it's just part of the game for me. It sucks when a quarterback gets mixed in. That's when it becomes a problem. That's when your coach loses his mind. Like, I believe the coach from the Giants did. So
have you ever had a full-blown fight with one of the players or on the field? Or is it just kind of, like you said, just been like little scuffles?
I've been mostly in little scuffles. We did have one time at the end of the game, actually it was the last play against Pittsburgh. And you know how Pittsburgh and Cincinnati are, like, we always going at each other.
Yep.
It was the very last play of the game, and one of my boys, and the special teams dudes, like, we got each other's back. We're soldiers out there. So one of my boys got punched, and, you know, Skuta ain't gonna, like, I'm not gonna just bounce off the board. I got him off his back. So
Skuta turned into the Yeti.
Yeah, we pretty much had a full-on brawl with Pittsburgh, and we got so lucky that all the cameras got turned off since it was the last play, because normally they'd keep rolling and we'd all get in trouble. Well, since the last play, nobody got in trouble, and there's no film evidence of me punching a bunch of guys from Pittsburgh.
The Yeti was swinging, bro.
I may have swung a couple times, and I'm not a fighter, you know. I'm pretty much just protecting my guy, and we all basically got jumped. So I was like, all right, well, I got to defend myself here.
I wouldn't have liked to be put in the middle of that, bro. Jesus.
No, I don't. The referees didn't even try to break it up. They're like, this is the last play. We're running out of here.
We got our money. Now it's time to go.
Right, and the coach wasn't happy, but you know, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm just a guy that I would never leave my guys hanging, especially out on the field. I mean, if it's at a club or something, I'm probably going to do it. But on the field, when you got to protect your other guys against other teams, I got their back. You know.
That's a new way to
did you have any instances of fights breaking out in soccer?
Well, I remember a few where we played. I remember I was at Leicester City and we played Derby County, and those are kind of like a derby rivalry game. So same thing, end of the game. And it's funny because in soccer, back in the day, everyone went to the changing room going through the same tunnel. So obviously the game's finishing, everyone's going down the tunnel. And then I'm walking off the pitch and I could just see the tunnel just moving side to side. So I'm like there, I'm running. Because obviously I'm young and I just want to get involved. So I'm just running. And then we had a player called Adi Akinbaye. And this guy had just abnormal strength. He could probably play in the NFL. Like, he was fast, strong. And like, someone must have been talking BS to him. And the way this guy was throwing him around, and all the rest of the Derby players are trying to jump in. And like, then next thing, punches start getting thrown. And then at the time we had like you said, an older team, like vets that kind of were big guys, man, just like big established guys. And they was just swinging. Yeah. And me, I'm just like, I'm not looking to swing. I'm not looking to get punched in my face. And I'm like 18, 19, so I'm just on the outskirts, just kind of like looking in, trying to pull people away. And I think that was kind of the biggest fight. Me personally, there's probably one time where I've kind of not come to blows, but we're kind of wrestling and the same kind of thing. He gets stopped. But the funny thing is, when you have all these fights, like 30 minutes later, you're friends again. You know what I mean? So it's so it's weird. It's not like normal life where obviously you have a fight and then you go your separate ways. It's because you know you're going to see him again, right? And deep down inside, I think you know that it's not personal. It's just emotions that got taken over, and then kind of he just got into a fight. So I think, and it just goes back to what we always say about like that bond and that brotherhood. It's sometimes it can spill over and emotions can turn into fights, but on the most fights, it's always fun because everyone's always talking about it the next day.
You're getting made fun of it, or you know, if you're that guy that, like in that game, if I would have just been the dude to just not help my boys, like they're going to be looking at me sideways, you know. 100%. But and I think that's why it never came down to like straight up two people standing there swinging during practice and stuff, because at the end of the day, that is your guy, and generally, you know, your starters are all important in every team, and everybody's important. So you don't want to be the one that hurts somebody else or does something stupid. So, you know, I hardly ever got into any. I got into it verbal stuff, you know, with coaches sometimes, but mostly all just, you know, little, like you said, little squalls or whatever, and then you're good. So it's part of the thing, man. It's part of having brothers. If you grew up with a brother like I did, he was kicking my butt every single day. So like, I'm not a fighter. I don't enjoy fighting. I don't go look for a fight. I hardly ever been in one in my life outside of football, but like, I'm not afraid of them either. You know, like I'm like, oh, it's kind of funny when it happens. Like you seeing all that stuff going down, like, oh shoot. So
if I was your size, I wouldn't mind either. But hey, we spread the love. We spread the love. That's what we do now. We don't fight. We spread love. Love and banter.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're way too old for that stuff now.
Yeah, exactly.
My back just hurts thinking about it.
I'm the same, trust me. Well, hey, as always, pleasure to have you on the show again, and have fun in North Michigan. I hope the reception gets better and your GPS gets you home safe.
Oh yeah, we'll be back home safe. I'll see you tomorrow, brother.
Okay, then, man. Vover.